In this video, we're going to talk about how to make selections in Photoshop. Your selection tools are right here, your marquee selection, your lasso tool, and your magic wand tool. And as always, this drop down right here gives you more options. So when I click that, I have your rectangular marquee tool, your oval tool, and what is called the single row and single column. You tend to use this much less than the first two, so we're going to talk about these right here. So I'm going to go ahead and select the rectangular marquee tool and go ahead and draw a selection. You would use these tools if you want to manipulate an image, make changes to part of an image. So now that I have a selection, what I can do is go under Image, Adjustments, and play with hue and saturation. So I can start doing things like completely changing what is in that selected area. And always that handy dandy preview button, make sure it's checked so you can kind of visually see what you're doing and eyeball it before you click OK. You can always add to your selections. There are two ways to do that. If you go to your what's under Photoshop in your options palette right here, the first one, if you click on add to selection, and that'll pop up, it'll show you that's exactly what it is. Subtract from selection, you can do that. Or you can come up over here, and I'm going to pick up the oval tool now, and just hold down your shift key and see how my cursor has now got a plus sign next to it. I can go ahead and do that. And it just added to my selection, right? I can go ahead and hold down my Option key or my Alt key on my PC and see how my cursor now has a minus sign next to it, and subtract from it. So it took a bite out. I can do the same thing up here and go to add to my selection and do it like this. Subtract from my selection, do it like that. So you can come up with, you can really customize your selection. There are more tools that you can use. Deselect and show you the lasso tool. Now this is, when you're working with the rectangular tool and the oval tool, yes, you can customize by adding and deleting, but you can also make free-form selections, and you would use the lasso tool for that. So I can go ahead and just kind of draw myself a selection. And there you go, you've got a selection going. That's, you can draw with your mouse, you can use your tablet, and you can still use these same tools up here in the options bar. Your add to your selection, in fact, you can do it in conjunction. So now I can pick up my rectangular marquee tool, click on add. Perhaps I want to do it this way. Perhaps you wanted to start with a fixed shape and then add and delete with the lasso tool to finesse it. So those are sort of your major selection tools that you would use in conjunction. Command D is your deselect keyboard shortcut. The last one here is your magic wand tool. Your magic wand tool is when you want to select a certain set of pixels to work together. You would work with the tolerance on this right here. So right now, look what popped up in my options bar. I do have something called tolerance. If I come in here and click, notice what it does. It selects a set of pixels that are very similar. Now my tolerance is set to 32, so that's fairly high. That's why it gave me a good area to select from. If I had not set it at 32, if I had, say, set it at 5, and if I come in here and click, notice what a small area it picked up. So you may want to play with before you find what is the tolerance that works for you, but you can certainly kind of input a custom value in there and go ahead and give yourself a selection. You can add to this selection Just hold down your Shift key. There you go. And you can quickly select almost the whole sky here. So if you wanted to, and then kind of clean up a little bit, all I'm doing is holding down my Shift key as I'm clicking with that magic wand tool. I've got the whole sky selected here. So if I can now delete this, put this in another background. The one thing I want to talk about is feathering. One additional thing. If you were to say make a selection, so say I'm going to pick up my oval tool and make a selection here. Now if I hit delete, I am just going to go ahead and get a blank. It's just cut out that part of that image. And I have a hard edge, right? I'm going to deselect so it shows you clearly. What I can do is I can give myself a softer edge. That's called feathering. So if I do this, give myself another shape, you will notice what popped up in my options bar is feather. Now I would need to set this before I draw my selection. If I do it after the fact, there is another way to do it, but I'm going to first show you. I'm going to go ahead and put a value in feather. Now draw my selection. Go ahead and hit delete and see what a soft diffused edge I've got that way, right? Now if you had, I'm going to go ahead and do a file revert again. Now if you had already drawn your selection and your feather was set at 0 and you've gone ahead and drawn your selection, you can still give it a feather before hitting delete. You can go under select, modify, and feather. There you go. There's a radius of 5. That's fine, just something to give you an idea. Now when I see how it has that soft diffused edge. So this is really your major selection tools and how you can use them in conjunction. I'm going to go ahead and just show you real quick. If I draw another selection and my feather is set at 0. So this is when we had a feather value put in, and this is with a hard edge. And you can play with anything in between, softer edges, harder edges, all of that.